Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Westbrook, co-founder of Shop Blackfest, and I'm just excited that you all are here today. And I'm excited to share with you what is killing your sales and how to fix it. So a lot of times we get these questions of how vendors, how business owners can increase their sales, increase their profit so that they can have a sustainable business. So I'm going to talk to you about a quick framework that you can use in order to get better at sales, so that you can start keeping money for your business and not just throwing it away on stuff that doesn't work. So the first thing that I want to say is, did you know that over 80% of small businesses' sales are lost, not because the product is not good, but because sellers do not follow up, they don't close, they don't ask for the sale, or they don't even make it aware to people that they are even selling. So you work hard, you spend hours on social media, you show up to events, but your sales are not reflecting your effort. So these frameworks are going to help you get past that. The main thing is the number one thing that is killing your sales is the lack of a system. So again, this framework is going to help you be able to put a system in place. And if you need this information once I'm done, feel free to comment sales in the chat and we'll go ahead and send that over to you. But I want to talk about some common mistakes and misconceptions when it comes to sales, and a little bit about marketing. So the first thing that I see is a big mistake that people make is not promoting before the event or drop. So if you're doing a new launch or you're going to be in person at an event, you have to let people know. Make sure that you're letting people know, especially the people that follow you, that comment. They're waiting to see when you're actually going to be in person. Are you a scammer? Are you somebody that actually exists? So let people know that you're going to be in person. Let people know that you have a new drop. The next mistake that I see a lot is people just post product photos. You'll grab a stock photo from where you ordered the products from, or something that's just plain that doesn't really drive any attention. You want to make sure that when you're posting on social media or posting on your website, you're posting something that's engaging people, something that people actually want to relate to, want to connect with. This is the biggest thing that I see. And this is the thing that you have to get over if you're going to be good at sales. And it is being afraid to close. As a business owner, you have to learn how to close. Ask for the sale. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later. And lastly, the biggest mistake or misconception that I see is people not following up. So if you ever have a customer buy from you once and then you never they never buy your products again, that means that you're not following up. So follow up, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Some myths that I want to talk to you about is things that people believe about sales that really just aren't true. So people believe things like if they like the product, they'll come back. So, if you're at a pop-up event, people might say something like, oh, I'm going to look around and I'll come back. How often does that actually come true? So don't do that. Get the sale while they're there, while they're excited about the product or service. And the next myth that I want to talk about is people feeling like they're bothering people. And this really relates to online, but don't be afraid to feel like you're bothering people. Send those emails, send those text messages, post on your social media. The people that you're bothering are not your customers. The people that like your products and services, they're not going to feel bothered. So get that out of your head. So now I'm really going to quickly talk about how you can fix it. So this is a quick framework that basically just talks about 3 different parts of the sales process. So you have before, during, and after the sale. So before the sale, it is so very important that you are promoting consistently. So online or even in person, promoting consistently, posting on social media, sending out emails, sending out texts to build awareness about what it is that you're selling, what new products that you have coming out. You have a new drop, you have a new launch, right? Make sure that you're consistently talking about that. You want to create a sense of urgency. So I have 10 products left, or I'm doing this launch and it's a limited amount. I have 15 items, right? Create that sense of urgency so that people feel like they need to buy now. If you don't do that, people can wait and buy whenever. And you really don't want that. You want to be able to push people to buy when you want them to buy, with things like countdowns and, of course, exclusive offers. And when it comes to online, you can do things like sneak peeks, reminders, teasers, and really just catering to your warm audience, people that already know about your products or services. So the next thing is during the sale. So during the sale, I want to talk real quickly about the 5 steps to a sales conversation. And so one thing that I see a lot of people do is asking for the sale too early. So somebody might walk up to your booth and you say, hey, do you want to buy this product? They don't know anything about the product. They don't know anything about you. You haven't even asked them how they're doing today, right? So you don't want to do these steps out of order. When it comes to sales, you have to make people like you, make people feel engaged with what you have to offer, and they're much more likely to buy. So the first part of the conversation, 5 steps to a sales conversation, is the introduction / icebreaker. So you want to smile, you want to greet people, use their name, right? You want to make people feel welcome at your booth. Your booth should feel like you're coming into a store. You know, if you go to some stores that you like, people might say, hey, welcome to such and such store, right? So that's how you want people to feel when they're coming to your booth, or even online when they're coming to your website, when they're coming to your social media. You want them to feel welcomed, right? The next part of the sales conversation is what we call the short story. This to me is one of the most important parts of the sales process. This is where you're sharing your why. So why did you start your business? What problem are you solving? What problem does your product or service solve for the person, right? So this is so important. If you don't know if your short story is good or if you are really reaching the people, ask your friends, ask other business owners. That's something that you can practice and get better at, right? The third step is what we call the presentation. So with the presentation, you want to make sure that you're focusing on the benefits, not just features. So what is in it for the person? At the end of the day, most people are very selfish, right? Well, I wouldn't say very selfish, but most people have self-interest, right? People care about what they care about. And so what's in it for them? Not what you think is what is going to be good for them, but what is actually in it for the person, right? So don't be not confident with what you have to say about the benefits, and don't be not confident with your pricing. So that's the presentation phase. You're talking about, this is how much this product costs. This is what the benefits are and what is in it for the person, right? The fourth step, and this is what we talked about earlier, a lot of people might skip this step or they get shy when it comes to this thing. They might get nervous, but it's asking for the actual sale. It's called the close. So close is asking for the sale, making sure that you're asking directly for the sale. Would you like to buy this product? Can I get one of those for you today? Those types of statements are important when it comes to the close. You can't beat around the bush. You have to be direct. And the same thing applies when you're online. If you're doing posts on social media or even sending out emails or text messages, if you don't have a clear call to action, like, hey, buy now, people a lot of times are going to skip over it. They're going to be like, oh, that's a cool new product, but I'm moving on to the next thing. I'm going to scroll right past that. The last step to the 5 steps of the conversation is what we call the follow-up. So the important parts about the follow-up, number 1 is collecting the information, right? So if you're in person, it is so important that you're collecting people's name, email address, phone number, so that you have some way to reach out to them in the future. Thank them for buying your product or service. One of the best ways that I see people do what we call testimonials is to take a photo. So like if somebody buys a shirt at Shop Like Fest or a book, something like that, I'm literally either going to take a picture with them, with me in the picture, or them with the product by themselves. And what I use those for is clearly testimonials, so that people can see that people are actually buying and supporting your product or service. It makes you seem more legitimate, and it makes it more easy for people to want to connect with you, right? Because they see you connecting with other people. People want what other people have. So follow up. The next steps when it comes to the follow up after the events, after you meet with people, after you talk to people online, make sure that you're sending them thank you emails, personalized DMs, follow up text messages, some way to keep in touch with them, right? Once somebody becomes a customer, that person is very important to you because you want to keep them as a customer for life. All right. So the next step that I'm going to talk about real quick is after the sale. So this kind of feeds into a little bit more about the follow-up, but you want to make sure that you're repeating this process and working on upsells. So sending thank you messages within 48 hours is the timeline that I feel like is very important. Remind them when it's time for refills, right? So if your product or service is something that people use on a monthly basis, a bi-monthly basis. Make sure that you have some way to keep up with, okay, this person bought this product in August. I need to follow up with them in September. So make sure that you're following up with those people. Make sure that you're doing upsells or cross sells. This is so important. If somebody becomes a customer of yours, they've given you their money, they're much likely to give you their money again. So push your other products, push other things, offers or things that you have to offer that will be able to solve whatever problem it is that your product is solving for that person. So if you're online, if you have, a Stripe checkout or, some type of website, you can implement things like abandoned cart recovery, which is like, if you go and you're looking at some product online, but you don't actually buy it, you might get an email in the next day or so that says, hey, you forgot this item in your cart. Would you like to purchase it now? Those types of reminders really help people get those extra sales. So those are some things that you want to touch on and do well so that you can continue to grow in your sales process. So one thing that I want to talk about, and this is going to be quick, is just the basics behind marketing and sales and how they come together. So a lot of people ask us, what is marketing? What is sales? To me, it's simply marketing is the top of the funnel and sales is the bottom of the funnel. And what I mean by the funnel is a funnel is shaped like this, right? So you have a lot of things going into the funnel, and then at the bottom of the funnel, you have not a lot of things coming out. So you might have 100 people look at your website, 100 people look at your social media page, and you might have 2 or 3 people buy, right? So that process is really what we call the marketing and sales funnel. So you want to make sure that your marketing is effective so that it warms prospects up so that they're wanting to buy when the products are available, right? So takeaways, always market first, sell second. And again, going back to the 5 steps of the conversation, you can think of the introduction, the short story as the marketing portion of it, and then the presentation sales as the presentation and close as the sales portion of it, right? So you don't ever want to just go straight into sales, because a lot of times people, unless they're already ready to buy because they've already been marketed to prior to you meeting them or whatever, you're skipping a step and you're going to be missing out on some sales that you could potentially get. So I really quick want to touch on some tools and resources, things that we use within our business that really have helped us get better at sales and marketing. And again, if you have questions, you want to get this framework, comment sales in the chat and we'll go ahead and send that to you. So some text and email platforms that we use. We currently use a platform for email called Flowdesk, which I really like. It's pretty simple, and there are some really cool templates that allow you to be able to plug and play your photos, your words, and get the emails out really easily. And we've in the past used things like MailChimp. There's also things like Klaviyo, Constant Contact, those types of things. And you can really Google and see which one of these things work for you, which features you like, you don't like. And it's pretty simple. You can try a lot of these for free. So the next thing that I want to talk about is tracking your sales. So when it comes to sales in general, you want to make sure that you're setting a goal, right? So I attended a pop-up event. I want to make $500, right? You have to have some type of benchmark so that you know if you're being successful in what you're trying to accomplish. So there's some sales tracking softwares out there, like, of course, Square, Shopify, Honeybook, things like that, that will be able to help you track, okay, I sold X amount of items, I sold X amount of inventory, so that you're keeping track of where your money is going in your business. Lastly, I want to talk about some content tools. So of course we use Canva. If you're not familiar with Canva, it is a tool that allows you to create flyers, photos, all kinds of different things. And it's really pretty easy to use. Think of it as like Photoshop for people that don't understand how all that stuff works. Anybody can use it, and they do have a free version as well. And then for videos, we use CapCut or InShot, and it really just allows you to plug and play and make quick videos that are going to be good for what your business is trying to promote or sell. So that's all that I have for you guys today. And I want to challenge you to pick one thing. So out of the things that we talked about today, what is the one thing that you're going to try to do better? So are you going to try to promote more before the event? I can't stress this enough. If you attend pop-up events and you're not letting people know that you're going to be at the event, you're really shooting yourself in the foot, right? You have to let people know, because the people who follow you, the people who are following you on social media, they're really waiting to see, is this a real person, right? Are they really selling this product that produces whatever result, right? They can come out and tangibly feel the product, smell the product, taste the product, whatever it is that you're selling. So are you going to promote more before the event? Are you going to focus on closing, right? Are you going to make sure that every person you talk to, you ask them, are they going to buy the product? And you're not going to get mad or sad if they say no, right? The reality of sales is that you're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. So that's something that you have to just accept and keep it moving, right? And the last thing, as part of the challenge, are you going to focus more on following up? So pick one of these things, and I think they will help you move to your next level when it comes to growing your sales for your business. Again, comment sales and we'll send you this framework. And I appreciate you guys joining us today. Talk to you guys later. Signing out. Hey, what's up, you guys? I am back, and real quick, I just want to say I am so thankful for you guys being here, joining us for the 4th annual Shop Blackathon. Some quick announcements. If you guys are in Birmingham or in Southern Alabama area, we're doing our Shop Black Fest outdoor event on September 13th. So make sure you tap in for that. If you have any questions about it, feel free to comment below Birmingham, and we'll get you that information. And we're going to be talking about some cool things that's going to teach you how you can get people to comment and have stuff sent to them automatically. But we have Jason Luntz from Your Voice joining us, and he's going to be talking about some AI tools that are really cool and are really going to help you grow your business and just your life in general. So
life in general.
Brother Luntz, and
Oh, great.
Great. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, you're muted, Jason. Hold on one second.
Yeah, it says my mic is on. Can you hear me?
Still muted. You got your mic on?
Yep. Hold on, maybe I'll just go to the Mac. Let me know if you hear me.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
Can you guys hear us? Drop us in the chat if you can hear
Oh,
myself
I
and
definitely hear
Jason.
you. Can you hear me? I hear you.
All right, I can hear you now, Jason.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, first of all, man, this is super dope. I love the fact that you're using technology to reach so many people. One thing that we learned during COVID, obviously, is that we can do things virtually, and that's a great thing. So to do something like this and to continue that, I'm really excited about today. And I'm excited for everyone that's joining us. I know it's got to be a lot of great entrepreneurs out there, solopreneurs, small business owners, and people that got side hustles. So today we want to talk a little bit about some AI tools that we utilize in our business. So my company is called Your Voice. We are a new media agency that helps brands grow their online presence through web design, social media campaigns, email marketing, and we do some outside marketing like media relations, PR. We do event activations as well. So AI is something that we utilize on a daily basis. And I don't just use it for business, I use it for my personal self. So today I'm going to be going over some tools. And if you're taking notes, we're going to be talking about Grammarly, AI meeting note takers, Gemini and Google Workspace, Canva AI, and ChatGPT. So we're going to leave ChatGPT for last because obviously that's the big daddy. And I'm sure all of you probably already use it, but we don't know if you're using it to its best ability. But what we're going to start off with is Grammarly. So personally, I have a background in journalism and I'm a really good writer, but I'm not good with grammar. And I've always been like that. Even as a kid, I excelled in school, but always had issues with spelling, punctuation, and things of that nature. So Grammarly AI is a lifesaver. First of all, you can have it like connected to your MacBook or your laptop. Definitely have the app on your phone. And when you have those emails that are very important and proposals you're sending out, Grammarly will catch all the issues with your grammar. It'll let you know when you need a semicolon instead of a colon. I mean, things like that are important. What about there, and there? Then and then, two and two, like things of that nature that sometimes are small things, but sometimes clients pick up on those. So having something like Grammarly is very important. It also helps you with the tone. So if you've written something, let's say the other day I had to send an email to actually someone I went to high school with. So I wrote it, but it just seemed so serious. So I used Grammarly to make the tone, a little bit more relaxed. So having those tones can change, if you want to have some humor in it or make it a little bit lighter. It also suggests rewrites so you sound a little bit more confident and professional. And basically, it's like having a professional editor. If you're writing a lot for your business, if you're doing a lot of like sales pages, blogs, and blogging is still very important, things of that nature. In the past, we had to hire somebody to go through there. Or if you're writing an ebook or a book about the services that you offer, having Grammarly can make that book sound so much better. So I suggest Grammarly. It just has a great way of using AI to understand what messages you're trying to convey. So next, if you're not on this, you need to be on it. And I hope a lot of you are AI meeting note takers. Now, Zoom AI has a great one that comes with it, but Zoom also has an app store where you can find some other options. But the built-in Zoom AI is a lifesaver. So when you're on meetings, it literally will capture everything that's being said. And you can open up a sidebar and even have it bring you up to date on where you're at, and can also list all your action items. One thing that I do with my note taker is before we begin a meeting or before we start talking, I have the client say their full name and their business. All right. And this is because once the meeting is done, the AI note takers will send you a summary. In that summary, if you have that information, now it's lined up. So if it says, John Smith of, I'm about to shout you out, John Smith of Soul, right? You're having a meeting with him. or Josh Mundy of Pivot, you know, when you have those notes, it will already have those names in there for you. Now, another great thing about that, and when we jump to chat, is you can take those notes, copy and paste them, and put them in your AI of choice. Now, having those names means when you're ready to have the AI write you a proposal or write you an invoice or an estimate, they already have a lot of that information. And there's other AI note takers that work out there alongside with, if you're on Google Meet or Teams, you have Otter AI, Fireflies.ai. And a lot of people like those because you can use them throughout Zoom or Google Meet or Teams. So if Zoom's not your choice and you have Google Meet, using Otter.ai can make a big difference. And I know a lot of these also can work well with your calendar, work well with your email. So do some research and see which works best for you. I prefer the Zoom one. I just love the way that it communicates. I love the meeting summaries, but it's great. And it's really good if you're in an organization, so you don't have to worry about somebody actually taking notes, that they can actually focus on the conversation. So if you're not using AI meeting note takers, I need you to get on that today. Now, this is a great one that I use in some of my organizations and clients that I work with, is Gemini in Google Workspace. So Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT. So you can go on Gemini and ask it the same kind of questions that you've been asking Chat or other AIs, and it can give you a lot of information. It's built into Google search engines, so that's very powerful. But when you're inside Gemini or Google Workspace emails, it can do some amazing stuff. It can, first of all, summarize your email. Now, sometimes you might get long emails and you have a lot going on. And if you're like me, people are requesting things all the time. So with this, it can summarize that quickly and get you some important bullets that you can, you know, browse through so you have an understanding. Now, you can also communicate with Gemini within your email. So you can ask them questions and you can say, I'm not very clear on what they're requesting. Can you explain that? I've had times where people have requested serious edits to their website and it just was not clicking in my mind. And when Gemini was able to summarize that, it made a huge, huge difference. That can also draft replies. So if you're not sure exactly what you want to say when you reply to an email, Gemini will do a great job with that. What else I like about it is it creates calendars. So if somebody's requesting a date and you don't have an out tool like, let's say, Calendly for your calendar, it can actually take that and you can just say to it, create a calendar for this. And it can place that in your Google Calendar, which is great. And if you use your iPhone or your MacBook calendar, please sync that with your Google Calendar. That way you don't have to worry about that. But that's another conversation. But yeah, it also can organize the tasks that are being requested within your emails. So this can make your life so much easier. And another thing about Gemini that I love, and this is clutch, I swear. If you're using Google Drive, and I know a lot of us are because it's a way a lot of people share information, share documents, share videos. Gemini, can be used to instantly find the files you're looking for. This blew me away. I have a client where they have all types of PDFs, videos, photos, just a lot of different stuff in their Google Drive. And I had to find a bunch of videos quickly. I went to Gemini, said, find me videos. It pulled up all the videos in their Google Drive, plus their title. And if you click on the title, it could give you a brief summary of some of the videos. Now, some videos that are uploaded to Google Drive are not always able to be seen. But if they are, because it depends on the format, but basically, if it can be read, it can actually give you a summary of that. It can give you a summary also of PDFs and documents that are within there. So I'm trying to tell you, Gemini is a game changer. if you use Google. And if you have your own email system, like our emails are through webmail, which is a control panel email, but we set them up so that they go through Google. So our Gmail has all our emails. So this Gemini has changed the game. So consider Gemini, especially if you're using Gmail or Google Workspace emails. Now, another great one, and there's been a lot of changes in this website and apps over the last year, is Canva AI, which has Magic Write and Magic Design. So I know a lot of you are using Canva probably on a daily basis at this point. And if you're a solopreneur and you can't really afford to hire a company like mine to do your graphics, then you're on Canva. Now, Canva has a lot of great templates already ready to go, but sometimes it still may not capture exactly where your mind is at. So when you use the Magic Design and Magic Write in AI and Canva, you can prompt it to create, what it is you're looking for. Now, in a lot of AI like ChatGPT and Canva, this nature, prompts are basically the way that you explain what you want to be created. So you type in there, I need a flyer with an astronaut and a Tennessee flag on the moon saying we've arrived. I want it to be funny and I want it to be for a hip hop audience. So Canva can then create something like that. Now, AI is still growing. We know a lot of AI imagery still looks off, but you guys know it's a big difference from 2 years ago when this AI thing really exploded. So it's getting better. But a lot of times you can use AI as inspiration. It may not give you the exact flyer you want, but it may be close enough that now you can go on Canva and find something that looks close to it and kind of mock it. Or sometimes I'll have Canva create an image for me or a flyer for me, and then I overlap the elements that I want to match it and then get what I want out of my mind's eye. And I hope that makes sense. What I'm saying is use it as your template, and then you can replace it so it looks perfect. Magic Write on Canva also can come up with ideas for posts. So a lot of times when you're trying to think, you got a great graphic in Canva, but what do you want to post when you put it on Facebook, when you put it on Instagram? So Magic Write can help you come up with that as well, and can help you come up with copy to place, because you may be creating a flyer or maybe a PowerPoint slide. It comes in really handy with that, but you're not exactly sure how you want to bring the words together. Or you may have a word in your mind, but you want a more professional definition. So you can use Magic Write for that. So Canva AI is important. And I do also want to say that everything that I'm mentioning, just to be clear, I have the paid versions for. So I can't say exactly what the free versions will give you. A lot of times free versions might give you just a small amount, but I do have the paid version for all of these that I mentioned so far. So that makes a huge difference, particularly with Canva. Having the paid version is a game changer as well. But using Canva AI can give the illusion that you have a full design team. And a lot of times as small business owners, that's what we want to do. If you're like me, I love to say, we will get that to you, or we're working on that. Even though it might just be me, but I think that it's important that we want our clients and customers to know that we are a real business. A lot of times when we say people will be like, well, you can do that for me. So just keep that in mind, that using these tools can also let your clients and customers know that you're a real business and that you have a full team working with you. So far we've gone over Grammarly, AI meeting note takers, Gemini and Google, and Canva AI. And of course, I had to save the big daddy, the number one stunner out here for last. That's ChatGPT. Now, when a lot of us think of AI, we think of ChatGPT first, almost how you think of Kleenex when you think of tissue, right? ChatGPT has exploded, and it is in the forefront of AI. And I'm sure all of us now know that ChatGPT can draft your emails. It can make captions for your social media. It can write blogs in minutes. So that's all well and good. But speaking and utilizing ChatGPT like you're talking to a person, like you're talking to an assistant, is what really can elevate the game. For example, it is great to brainstorm with. Now you might be like, hey, chat, write an email to this potential client, and it puts something out. That's cool. But if you say, hey, chat, I'm trying to close the deal with this client. Let's talk about some ways that I can make that happen, right? Talk to it like it's a person. Share the information of what you want it to help you with. So if you're trying to close a deal at a large organization or company, send the link, give the link to chat. Say, check out what this business does. So now chat has an idea. If there's any news articles, or you can say, chat, see what's been the news about them. Chat, what do you think some of their pain points are? Chat, you know what I do. How do you think I can help this client? And when you do that, you will see such a difference than just saying, hey, chat, write this email to this potential client. You want to talk to chat like it's a person. In fact, you may think it's crazy. Before I begin any thread with chat, I ask chat how his day is going. I do. I'll be like, what's up, chat? How are you today? You know, chat will come back to me like, what you working on? What we doing today? I'll tell them, we're trying to take over the world. Let's make it happen. And just opening it up like that, chat will have such a big difference. And even with those social captions, those emails, those blog posts, never just say, write me an email. You got to give it some context, give it some background, give it some love, put some sauce on it. Because if you don't, first of all, people can tell at this point. We all know when we're getting chat. And I hate the idea of thinking we just have two chats emailing each other back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not actually helping us or helping the client. So when you're using ChatGPT, talk to it and let it know what you're working on. Now, chat can save you so many hours because a lot of this brainstorming is things that you used to have to do yourself in your mind, especially if you're a solopreneur. Now, I got the paid version again. I don't know if the free version does this, but it may. But I have the ability to talk to chat, and chat can talk back. So when I'm in a car sometimes and I'm driving somewhere, me and chat have come up with some amazing ideas together because we're having conversations. For example, this right here feels like, oh, wait, me and chat came up with this t-shirt idea last year during the election when I said I was like, yeah, I want to do a little side hustle, but I also want to make a difference. And so we came up with this idea. It feels like, oh, wait, obviously Kamala didn't win, but we sold these shirts and some of the money went to her campaign. But I never would have came up with the idea without chat. And then we were able to brainstorm once I got home on how we wanted the website to look. Now, I'm an amazing designer, not to toot my own horn, but my websites have increased or look even better since I started using chat, because now it's able to take a lot of that noise out of my head and we can just data dump. So it makes a big difference. And this brand right here, or if you were to look at any of the websites I've built and you see them from 2021 till now, you can see a great increase. Now, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't charge or you shouldn't charge what you normally do for your businesses. That doesn't mean you should not continue to charge and have people make you think, well, chat's doing it. What am I paying you for? No, what I do with chat, the average person cannot do, because I've learned how to communicate with chat. Plus, I am a designer, so I know what I'm looking for. If you never built a website in your life thinking that you're going to go to chat and it's like, yo, help me build a website, it's not going to look like what I build. So having the talent is necessary. And whatever your business is, I just don't like the idea of people thinking because you're using AI, that means you should not get paid your worth. Because these AI tools are only as good as how you utilize them. It's just like using your laptop. When writers started using laptops, did we say I shouldn't pay the same amount for your book because you didn't use a typewriter? And you're not using whiteout when you make a mistake? And that there was on Microsoft Word, it had a spell check? No, spell check. You remember Windows 95, that little clip, if you're old enough, that used to come up and say hi. Paperclip, that was an early form of AI, right? And it helped you be better with your business and with what you were working on. So I don't want people to ever think just because we're using these tools does not mean that we should not still get paid for what we do. And also with chat, I also wanted to say this too. I think I'm coming up on my time, but I wanted to say I love chat for personal stuff. Chat is also great to brainstorm about where should you take your wife or husband for their birthday. It's You're planning a family reunion. What are some good ideas? Maybe you want to figure out a trip to travel. But I want to tell you one quick one that I love that I did with chat. This is a good one. You'll like this one. One day I was starving. I had all these leftovers in the fridge. So I opened up the fridge, took a couple pictures, uploaded it to chat. That came out with like 7 recipes. Like, oh, take that here, put this here, and man, we feasted that night. So ChatGPT can change the game, and I think it's all about opening up your mind and it gives you more of your time back. So I hope these were helpful. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Again, Grammarly, AI note takers on your Zoom, Google Meets, Gemini, Google Workspace, Canva AI, and ChatGPT.
I love that, Jason. I appreciate you joining us. And I really just wanted to talk really quick about one of the things I hear a lot of people say are they're afraid of AI, or they're scared that it's going to take over their life, or it's going to be like iRobot and it's going to go rogue and jump out of their computer at them. So what do you say to people that say things like that about being afraid of just using different AI tools in general?
Well, I would say personally, the AI tools that we're using, I don't think we personally have to worry about that because that's not going to happen with using AI to help you with your grammar, right? If they're thinking about long-term society usage, then I think we do need to be aware of where AI is going. You do need to watch the news. And if you have some real concerns, these are the things that you can talk to about with the candidates that are running for office. And as these midterms come and then the next presidential election, if these candidates are not talking about AI, then we as the people need to put their foot to the fire. But a lot of the people that own these AI companies, they are discussing, they do install parameters to make sure that AI can be controlled. I do think it's a long-term thing, but we do need to keep our eye on it. But I would say the initial stuff we're using AI for now, I don't think we have to worry about Terminator hopping into, chat's not going to turn Terminator and kill you tonight. So, but if it is a genuine concern, yeah, pay attention and ask questions to our leaders and our politicians. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I wouldn't say it's a fear because, bro, there was a time when everybody was riding horses, and the first person had a car on the block, people were scared. There was a time when there was that last family that got rid of a radio and finally got a TV in 1954. Like, there's a certain point where you're gonna have to accept that technology is going to be a part of your lives, and AI is built into so much we do now. And I hope that helped that answer, but I'm not that afraid of it, but I do pay attention to the news, and I do want to make sure I have an understanding of where it's going.
Right. No, completely understand that, man. And that's huge. I think, in general, when it comes to AI tools, I think that a lot of the things that you mentioned, I was taking notes because I haven't actually got a chance to use Grammarly yet. The AI note takers are amazing. Like, I love that so much. ChatGPT I use every day. Talk to me a little bit about your company and what your voice does. You talked a little bit about websites and things like that, but this session is sponsored by your company, and I've been knowing Jason for a long time, so I know some of the things that you do. But tell the people how you help business owners and why you're in this space in general.
Oh man, yeah. So basically, your voice. What our mission is to be your voice online, and I started the company with the goal to provide solopreneurs, small businesses, nonprofits, the same tools that large corporations have. Large corporations have in-house comms, but they also hire large, PR firms, large marketing firms to give them, a leg up. So my goal was to have affordable tools that can get you an online presence. And it's been a journey. We started in 2016, but I was freelancing since 2012. So it's been a minute that I've been out here, and I know that particularly in the Nashville area, I've worked with so many people. It's to the point now, and you know how this is. I'll be out in an event, and someone be like, "Yo, you built my site," and I'll be like, "Oh man, I almost forgot about that. That was like 10 years ago." But I'm glad that people always know that they can, give us a call and we can set them in the right direction. That we're always here to help. That's the number one thing. But yeah, what we do is if you need a website, we'll build you a dope website. If you need a social media campaign, you're having a new product you're dropping, for example, you open a new location, we can do some great campaigns for you. And even media relations, we can get you, in some newspapers, on the radio, we can get you in, some TV. So these are some of the things that we focus on. And one of the best things we've been doing the last 2 years is event activations. So we worked alongside some great nonprofits and actually help them get vendor booths and set up in a really great way to have make a difference. And these event activations we've done across the state, and I love that part. So basically, if your business is trying to set up an event and you want to have some real ROI on that event, you can utilize us for that as well. And it's just part of what we do. We just want to help you grow and grow and grow. And even with chat, like we offer a 2-hour brainstorm session. Well, not really brainstorm, but more like a tutorial, or where I can teach you, or someone on my team can really teach you how to use ChatGPT. So that's always something that we've noticed a lot of our clients have enjoyed. So we get on a Zoom like this and we do an hour. I give you some homework, then we do another hour. And that thing has been very helpful, because since I understand have a small business, I understand that sometimes you can't afford to pay others for everything. So I also like to give you the opportunity. So for example, you have a WordPress site and you really can't afford our prices to revamp it. We can do an hour or two Zoom where I can show you how to make some changes. Now, I personally recommend to hire people when you can. I'm a big fan of letting people do what they're good at. So that's not always the best way, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Us small business owners, look, you out here, bootstrapping, you out here making it happen. So that's something that we also offer. If you need some help, I'm always here. And if you just want to pick my brain, you can DM me at the J Lunch Report across the board. So that means anywhere from Pinterest, from Pinterest to TikTok, you can find me at the J Lunch Report. And if you have some questions, man, I'm always here. We also offer 15-minute free consultations. So if you ever want to talk to us about building your website or revamping your website or doing some social media, some email marketing, don't be afraid. Like, there's no initial charge. We could jump on a Zoom. Let's see what your pain points are. Let's see if we can help. And sometimes, you just might get a couple ideas just off that convo. And if you feel you can do it yourself, look, I'm not here to try to force no one to spend money on anything that they don't see the value in. And I'm sure as business owners, you guys feel the same. You want to always give first. You got to give, then ask. I got that from Gary Vee, which is really jab, 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 hook. This is a great book, by the way. But yeah, so in the end, that's what we do, man. That's what we do. We're here to help you grow online. We can do some offline stuff too. But, hit us up, yourvoice.com. Hit me up at J Lunch Report. And, I hope everyone gets a lot out of today. I know they will, because, well, first of all, the Westbrooks, y'all, come on. Y'all been holding this shit down for a minute. Excuse my language. But y'all been holding it down, so I appreciate y'all. Oh, you're mute. I still can't hear you. I was mute earlier. Look, I'm trying to clear it like it's my Zoom. Why is fixing that? Let me plug myself again. Yourvoice.com. And we actually about to bring back Feels Like 08. So I got some really cool stuff. If you follow me, I'm going to be posting some new dope t-shirts. Been brainstorming with chat and got some really cool stuff going on. Got a couple other little t-shirt lines, just some stuff, because I also like to use my side business as proof of concept. So if you come to me and you have an e-commerce site, I have the experiences not just as the designer, but I have experience as actually selling those items online myself. We got another great site coming up, ZentreseAltavis.com, which may be hard to spell, but it's going to be a great site, and it's going to be luxury based, but it's going to offer a lot of great premium services for those that want to have really top notch social media, top notch business consultation. But we're gonna have some really luxurious products on there too. ZentreseAltavis.com. That's coming soon. But yeah, your voice, URVOYCE.com. Come by the site. We got some prices on there. We got examples of our past work. We make logos. If you need a logo, we do email marketing. We do it all. Are you back?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we had to do a little switcheroo, man. Technology, But
Technology.
Somebody had asked a question real quick. Do you know how to set up SaaS? I can't even remember what it stands for.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head say what it stands for. But yes, I work on that too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So whoever's in the comments, you can hit Jason up.
Yep.
Jason, we appreciate your time today. And we're going to switch over to our next session. But thank you again, brother, for what you do and supporting Black-owned businesses. This has been Shop Blackathon talking about some AI tools. So rewind this if you missed it. These are some really great tools that you can use to really grow your business right now and get to that next level. So, Jason, we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thank you.
All right, brother. All right, you guys. Coming up next, we have my good brother, Marcus Johnson of Johnson Capital Planning. And he's going to be talking about profit over hustle, some smart money moves. So he is a financial planner, and I'll let him give a little bit more information about his background. We're going to bring him up. What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I cannot complain. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So give us your elevator pitch. Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're here today.
Yeah, man. Again, my name is Marcus Johnson. I'm a financial planner right here in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll focus on comprehensive planning from anything from investments, financial planning, estate planning, retirement, etc. Right. Our main goal is to make sure that we're planning our dollars. Right. So our tagline in that firm is plan your dollars, plan your future. Right. So the more you're able to, plan for what you want to do with your money, the better your financial picture is going to be. And so that's what we focus on.
Cool. I love that, man. I love that. So let's jump right into it, man. So this is a lot of business owners that are going to be watching this, and you can keep it general about business owners, people that don't own businesses, they got 9-to-5s. But many entrepreneurs, they make money, but they don't keep it. Mm-hmm. So what's the biggest mindset shift that you think business owners need to make in order to start keeping more money, keeping more profit for their business?
Yeah, so I think it's a twofold, right? So I tell people all the time that hustlers trade time for money, and business owners build systems that generate money even when they're not present, right? So when we think about it from that standpoint, we want to make sure that we have some systems in place, and we want to get specific on what we actually want our money to do. And so what we want to kind of iron out is, all right, what is the main goal that we're trying to accomplish here, right? With the cash flow that we're having. And so some of the things is that I've noticed from a lot of entrepreneurs is that they're not paying attention to their numbers at all, right? So we don't have a good understanding of what our cash flow is going to look like, what our expenses are going to be. And so then it's harder for us to really keep track with where your money is actually going, because we're not really taking control. We're not really paying attention to where our money is actually going. And so, the first thing to do is just identify, all right, what are we actually trying to do, right? What are we wanting our money to accomplish? What are these dollars? What's the purpose for it, right? Are we trying to make our business bigger? Are we trying to, think about ourselves from a personal side? Like, are we trying to figure out, all right, what our retirement could look like? Are we trying to figure out, if we want to buy a home? Like, what exactly are we trying to accomplish with that? And then from there, we can get, more granular.
Okay. No, I really like that. And that's huge. Talk to me a little bit more about just cash flow in general and what that means for a business, and I guess some ways that you can start to think about it, even if you haven't in the past.
Yeah, so I tell people that, in my opinion, cash flow is probably the most important piece, right? And so identifying how that money is coming in and what our expenses are going to be. And so a lot of times business owners they ask me, well, it fluctuates, right? So then I tell people, all right, well, let's take an average. And so the easiest way to do that is, look at the last 3 months of what your spending has been, right? And that 3 months is going to kind of give you a gauge of what your cash flow is going to be, right? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to it, we got income, we got expenses, right? And so we want to get to a space where we're not overspending what's actually coming in. And so generally, I tell people that either we're running at a deficit or we're running at a surplus. And so of course we want to get to a space where we can actually get to a surplus, right? Where we actually have more cash coming in than we have expenses going out, right? Because anytime we look at it, we want to view it from the standpoint of we want to increase our income, right? Flatline our expenses and then be able to invest the difference, right? That's really what we want to get to. Mm-hmm. But what happens with most people is that as their income increases, so does their expenses, right? And so now we're spending the difference. And so, without actually looking at it and, kind of getting into your actual numbers of your business, right, it's going to be hard for you to, manage your cash flow. But I would say managing cash flow is essential for running a business on either business or personal.
No, I love that, man. And I've been guilty of that too, right? Like, I just got a sale or I just got some money coming in. So I got X amount of dollars that I can spend. But you got to think every dollar that you got coming into your business, you should really be thinking about, okay, this percentage is going towards paying the bills. This percentage is going towards paying myself. This percentage is going towards paying, my staff or whatever other expenses that I got before I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this whole amount and put it towards this fast food meal that I'm trying to get for lunch today.
Exactly. And so I tell people, especially business owners, we need to have multiple accounts, right? Mm-hmm. And so some of the biggest mistakes that I see with a lot of young entrepreneurs is that they commingle funds, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning that they are commingling the business funds with their personal, right? And so now that's going to become an accounting nightmare. And so, a lot of times I tell people as well that, we got to account for taxes, right? And so, the easiest way to do that is just to set up a tax account, right? So every time you get money from a sale, whatever your process is, like we need to be taking and iron out a portion of that and putting it into that tax account so that we don't have issues there. And so that's going to be very important for you as well.
Cool. So on that same line, you mentioned, commingling funds. What other types of big mistakes do you see new business owners make that are really hurting them when it comes to getting their financial plan together for their business?
Yeah, the biggest is the commingling situation, right? And then the other part is the tax part. And so those two things together can create like a knife on it for you. And then the other thing I would tell people that, that we definitely want to stress is that we need to make sure that we're doing accounting, right? And I don't mean just filing your taxes. We need to be actually putting the systems in place so that we're able to manage and account for the actual cash that's coming in, right? So there are softwares out there that can kind of do it for you, such as QuickBooks, et cetera. Right. That could be something that you definitely should have as a business owner. But I would probably say, as your business starts to get to a space where you're making six figures, that we probably want to hire in somebody to kind of help manage that, which they call those bookkeepers. So you really want to have that bookkeeper and an accountant kind of working in tandem with you so that you're able to, kind of run your business efficiently, especially if you're going to be wanting to get to a space where you want to raise capital and start to, make your business where it's investable.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So along that same line of thought, you talked a little bit about paying for the different things that you have to pay for out of that, dollar when it comes in. When it comes to paying yourself as a business owner, how should people approach that or even think about it? And I know that we have a lot of people that'll be watching this that are in the first month of their business up to, 10 years in business. So keep it general, but I think for the people that are new, obviously, if you've made it past a few years, you're doing something right. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, I tell people there isn't like a true one size fits all. It really depends on what your business model is and what actually your business does, right? But in general, I typically tell people to, remember the why. Why did you start this business, right? And it's to create, income and a lifestyle for yourself. So I'm generally telling business owners to pay yourself first, right? Now we want to be skewed with that, meaning that we don't want to take all of the cash flow from our business, for our personal needs, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're actually taking care of self, right? So it's kind of like the same, situation where when you're on a plane and they say if an emergency happens, you want to make sure that you put your mask on first. So we kind of want to have that same sentiments, right? Because I generally tell people that if the business owner is stressed, right, now we're going to have a situation where you're probably going to be making, poor decisions because you're stressed out about your financial situation. So, we want to think about it from a standpoint of, all right, well, what percentage of the cash flow coming in will make sense for me to be able to take out and still be able to maintain, an efficient business. I know I've read reports that say, whatever the role is that you're serving in your business, probably, and look at what that salary would be if you was working for somebody else, and then take 70% of that and make that your payment, right, to yourself. Okay. Right. And so, I've seen, variations of that, right? You can take 70, maybe that's too high for you. Maybe it's 60, right? But it's some variation of what is the actual role that you're doing in your business. Look at the salaries that they're paying and then start there. Right. And, that might be a good start for you.
I like that. I like that a lot. I have heard, like you said, the different percentages, but I hadn't thought of taking a percentage of what the salary would be for something else. I would just be like, 30% of whatever your cash flow is, or
I mean, but again, that goes back to that notion that, it's not a one size fits all, right?
Right.
And there's multiple ways to do it. And then I would also ask, are you doing this full time? Because that's what's going to matter too, right? So if this is a part-time, thing for now, then I definitely will be having a different conversation versus this is all you're doing, right? So you're going to have to be able to maintain your lifestyle, if this is your only, job.
Absolutely. If this is just a side hustle, what would you say differently?
So if it's a side hustle, then we would probably want to wait to take any cash out, right, until our business actually gets to a space where that you can walk away. And so, that way that every dollar that's coming from that business, you're able to actually grow to get it to a space where now this is your main thing. But I mean, it takes time too, right? So, and doing it strategically and smart in the sense that, I don't want to walk away from, a good 9-to-5 type situation for a hope and dream, right? Because we do understand that, a lot of businesses fail. And so, that's just part of the reality of it, right? So, kind of planning it out and doing it in a strategic way where now we're leaving our main job, right? Once our actual business is generating enough cash flow to support not only your business, but your lifestyle as well.
For sure. And my wife and I can attest to that. We was young in our 20s and we was like, man, on a hope and a dream. And, thank God we were able to make it work. But
right.
Those first couple of years, they wasn't easy, man. So I appreciate that advice. And, hindsight is 2020. If I had talked to you 10 years ago, it might be a different story. But I love that, man. So moving on, when is it a good idea for business owners to start thinking about retirement, investment, long-term wealth? Is it too early? When would you say?
I would tell people the earlier you start thinking about retirement, the better it's going to be, right? I would say one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of entrepreneurs make is that they neglect that aspect of it. And they also tell me that their business is their retirement. And I would tell you that is completely false, right? There's no way around it, right? Now, can you sell your business, once you get to a space? Of course, right? Those things are there, but there's so many different variations that kind of come into play before we're able to get there. I would tell you that the earlier you start, the better. And there's also going to be some tax benefits for setting up retirement plans, right? Because there's so many, as a business owner, you're able to tuck away more money into different vehicles than you would be able to inside of an employee sponsored, 401k, right? So there's going to be benefits for you from a tax benefit. And this is, going to be a situation where you're able to, put away money that's going to be, your retirement, right? So, because at the end of the day, when we think about retirement, what that really is we're trying to replace today's dollars tomorrow, right? And so the earlier we do that, the better. One of the things that I like to instill to people is remember one of the basic principles of economics, right? And so that's opportunity cost. And so basically what that means is what I give up to get. And so with that being one of the main principles, right? The earlier we start, right? The earlier we start to put our money into, a space where we're able to, invest, et cetera, right? The better benefit it's going to have for me at a later date. So, even if it's small, right? So sometimes we think about, oh, I have to, put a huge investment into this retirement space. I would tell you that that's false as well, right? We just want to start somewhere, even if it's, $50 a month, $100 a month, right? So that we can create that habit to actually having that cash flow into some type of retirement vehicle.
Okay. No, I like that for sure. So if you had to give somebody some quick advice on when it comes to starting that conversation, where should they start? Should they go to Google, ChatGPT? Should they come and talk to somebody like you? What are the first steps when it comes to, okay, I'm thinking about my retirement now. Where do I start?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are or where you're at with it. But if you're brand new, I definitely would highly recommend, seeking out someone who has some expertise, right? Because I tell people that a little information can be dangerous, right? Meaning that I only know a little bit about it, right? So that means I'm really skewed in my thinking because I don't really have a whole bunch of information around what I'm actually trying to accomplish, right? And so because there's so many different variations of retirement plans that you can think of for business owners, right? So you have, solo 401ks, you have SEPs, you have simple IRAs, right? And you can set up a 401k for your business, right? And so there's so many different rules and regulations around that, right? I would definitely highly consult with a financial planner who can kind of help you to determine what makes sense for your business, because everybody's business model is going to be different. And so you definitely want to get a little bit more granular on what specific plan is going to make sense.
Okay. You mentioned earlier a bit about savings, and somebody had a question. Mm-hmm. And it says, what's the percentage of my business draws that I should place in my savings or towards retirement?
So, again, when we start to get, I would say we would have to frame it a little bit different. Number one, I would need to know how old you are, right? Because I would tell you that, different ages have different savings rates, right? And so there's actually a calculation that we can kind of come up to figuring out what your savings rate needs to look like, right? Generally, I would tell you that, a good place to start is probably somewhere around 10%. But that number could be skewed based on how old you are, right? And if you're starting later, right? So, I could say, look, I'm 30 years old. I have never saved, right? And I'm trying to think about my retirement outlook. I would say that 10% is probably going to be low for you, right? Because you got to think, right? One of the biggest issues that's happening in the retirement space is that people are starting to live longer, right? So, a lot of times people come in and say, hey, look, I want to retire at 50. Well, now you're retiring at 50, you may live to be in your, 85, 90, right? So now you're talking about a retirement lasting 40 years, 40 plus years with inflation and, market conditions, right? Now we need to be making sure that we have enough, right? So one of the biggest concerns with most people is am I going to run out of money, right? And so that savings rate needs to be, thought about in the standpoint of, all right, well, am I starting late? Do I have anything, right? So that's why consulting with a financial planner is going to help you to identify what that savings rate should look like and what your true north is, right? What is that number that it's going to take for you to be able to retire efficiently with your, expenses, et cetera, and maintain the lifestyle that you want? I hope that helps.
No, I think that definitely helps. I mean, that was Jason's question, the guy that was previously just on. And I'm not exactly sure what his age. I think he's in his 40s, but
okay.
I think that's good advice, just in general. So moving on, one last thing I want to talk about, and I know that you do some things around insurance. Talk to us about how financial planning, life insurance, things like that can help protect a small business owner's family or their legacy.
Yeah, so insurance is definitely a good piece to have to the puzzle, right? It's going to be your protection piece. I would tell, especially if you're a business owner that has a partner, I definitely would recommend, looking at some type of buy-sell agreement. And so basically what that is it's an agreement where if one of the business owner passes away, that insurance policy would be in place to be able to take care of the needs of that other individual. So basically buy them out, because then you have to ask yourself the question, if my business partner passes away, do I want to be in business with their family? right? So that buy-sell agreement is basically going to cover, you know, in the event that something happens, that it buys their interest out, and right, and so now that business owner is made whole. I think I read a report that said that, you know, business owners who don't have a buy-sell agreement in place, 69% of those businesses fold after that business partner passes away.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So that's a
Yeah.
huge number. You know, so we want to think about it from that standpoint. The other thing that, you know, I like about the insurance aspects is that it's tax-free, right? So, you know, having some type of policy, you know, on yourself is going to definitely be able to help with your family, because that money that's going to come to you is going to be tax-free. And so the other aspect of it too is making sure that we start having some type of estate plan, right? And that doesn't just mean, okay, I have a will. I tell people that a will is more so just like a seatbelt, right? We want to kind of make sure that we have a full plan. You know, if all we have is a will, then, you know, we're in a situation where that could be contested, right? And so, you know, there's other things that we need to have in place. And so insurance, estate planning, all of that stuff is going to matter in the grand scheme of things when we start talking about, you know, our overall financial picture.
Okay. Dope. No, I love that. And you and I have had conversations about insurance. I have a little background in life insurance. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's something that's huge, especially in our community, that we don't want to be involved with, you know, selling fish plates and things like that. But just from a bigger standpoint, you know, not even just covering funeral expenses, but also, you know, making sure that your family and your legacy can keep going if something were to happen, you know, God forbid.
Absolutely.
So, switching lanes a little bit, is there anything that you can think of or have heard of that's coming down the pipeline, policy changes, things of that nature, that might affect the Black community when it comes to planning financially?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I'm hearing a couple things as far as some of the rules and regulations on, you know, on retirement accounts itself, right? So when we start to think about IRAs, and, you know, things of that nature. So I definitely would tell people that, as whilst it's still here, and I'm specifically talking about Roth IRAs, you know, while that's still a vehicle, if you can qualify to be able to contribute to it, I definitely would make sure that you're maximizing your ability to contribute into a Roth IRA. And so just for, you know, very high level, basically a Roth IRA is a retirement vehicle that you're able to put in after-tax dollars into an account. And that money is then invested into the stock market. Then you're able to pull that money out, you know, tax-free, as long as it passes the 5-year rule test, right? Meaning that the Roth has been open up for 5 years. You're 59 and a half or older, and now you're able to take that money out tax-free. And so, you know, I'm starting to hear a little rumblings around, you know, some maybe some changes that's going to come down, you know, with that. Of course, we don't know as of today if that's actually a thing, right? But while it's still here, you know, and you can qualify. And the reason I keep saying that you can qualify is because if you make over a certain amount of money, then technically you can't go outright into a Roth. But that's why dealing with a financial advisor will be able to help you to, you know, kind of navigate in a space if you actually do make too much to contribute to that vehicle. So that's one of the biggest things, right? The other thing that I would tell you to start paying attention to is Social Security, right? And so the reason that is important is because, you know, Social Security is supposed to be an additional income stream for you once you retire. But one of the issues that's happening right now is that you have more baby boomers pulling out of Social Security than you have the other generations putting in. And so what does that mean? That means we're going to be running at a deficit. So you're going to start seeing language and communication around them wanting to push the age back to be fully eligible to start taking Social Security. So that is something that we need to start paying attention to, right? Because at the end of the day, I would tell you that most people aren't saving efficiently, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you are still working at your job and you're only doing the 3% match, right? And so that's what you think is the max that you can actually contribute to that 401k. And so I would tell you that no, right? That you can do more, and you probably should be doing more, so that we have enough, you know, cash, so that we're able to retire efficiently. So start paying attention to that, because they're continuously pushing that age back, and you know, and that's going to matter to us, right? And especially the generations after us.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, I hear that a lot. You know, people relying on only Social Security. That's not going to even
it's definitely not
be a thought for us. But I mean, it's even becoming more difficult for even boomers, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So a couple more things. If you could give one smart money move, so whatever your stock pick is or whatever your smart money move is for entrepreneurs in 2025, what should we be looking at? What should we be paying attention to? If you just have one thing that you feel like is very important.
So I would say the one thing is to, when it comes to investing, is just start now, right? So the earlier you start, the better it's going to be. Now, as far as for compliance reasons, I can't give any stock picks. If you want those stocks, you got to come see me, right?
Yeah, hit that man's
Capital.
DM, hit up his website.
We were definitely here to serve, right? Which is why we're here, and that's what we focus on, is managing money. But I would tell you to just pay attention to the things that are happening, right? If you aren't looking to AI, not just from a consumer standpoint, but maybe looking at it from a situation of, okay, well, AI is becoming big. Well, how do I start investing into the things that are pushing AI, right? I would probably say smart money is moving there. Smart money is moving and paying attention to, what's happening with, the battle between Jerome and Trump, right? What kind of effects is that going to have on my money, right? And so if you don't know who Jerome is, and then we need to have a deeper conversation, right? Because I'm paying attention to what is money doing, and so Jerome is controlling interest rates, right? And so that's going to have an effect on how markets move, right? So if rates get cut, guess what? People are going to be enticed to want to put money into the market. Right, and you saw it actually happen yesterday. Right? I don't know if you guys was paying attention to what's going on in the news outside of what some of the headlines are, right? But that was huge, right? So basically, Jerome came out and said that he's probably going to cut rates, and so guess what? The markets were up yesterday. But had he said he was going to hold still, the markets probably would have went down. So paying attention to where money's going, starting to figure out some of the technology around how AI is being pushed, right? What are these companies that are actually at the forefront? I would start probably paying attention to that stuff.
Okay, very cool. So last thing, tell us more about Johnson Financial Planning. What's your special offer? And what you guys are really focused on now over there when it comes to not only just business owners, but wealth planning in general?
Yeah. So I would tell you that, our main focus is building financial plans. So our goal is for every family to have a financial plan. And so what does that mean is that we're going to look at your cash flow. We're going to determine where you could be cutting expenses if we need. We're going to be looking at your balance sheet, right? We're going to look at your net worth. We're going to look at your debt, right? And look at things from a number standpoint to figuring out what is going to be your strategic moves and where your gaps are, right? I tell people every day that I live in the gaps. My job is to identify where your gaps are and figure out what solution makes sense for you to be able to push forward. And so our focus and main thing that we want to push to people is that it's not necessarily trying to figure out and get you into some type of vehicle first, right? We want to figure out and identify specifically what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go, and what is your true north. And in order for us to be able to do that, we have to sit down and actually go through a full plan. And so our plans start at $1,250 one-time fee. We're able to get you in. We're doing all of this work with you. You'll be able to, basically have a good blueprint on where you're trying to go. And then the main thing after that is, once you have that plan, is actually get some implementation, and then we're able to help you with that as well.
Okay, cool. So how do people get started with you? I know that they can just visit your website, but what's the way that you would prefer people jump in? And I know Jason mentioned he gonna be calling you this week. But.
Yes, yeah, Jason, that's my guy. You can through our Calendly link that has our schedule on there. You're able to book a consultation. All of our consultations are at my cost. I hate the word free, but at my cost, right, in the beginning. And so then we can kind of go through and identify if it's a good fit, and then we'll kind of go through the whole situation, whole system, to figuring out how to get all that going for you. But either through our Calendly, go into our site, johnsoncap.com, or shooting us an email at info@johnsoncap.com, and we'll be more than happy to assist you in wherever you are, whether you're just starting or you're a veteran in this thing. We can help you at whatever stage of business that you're in.
Cool. And yeah, if you signed up for our email link, we'll make sure we send out this information to you. Marcus, I want to thank you for your time.
Yes.
And we just appreciate you sharing this knowledge with us. I think that as a business owner, this is one of those big pieces that a lot of people are missing. And especially when you're in the entrepreneurship space, it is important to make sure that you're thinking about these long-term plans. As you mentioned, there's a lot of things that could happen, and selling your business for your retirement is not really a thing these days as much as it was in the past. So I think those are really great tools and tips for people to get to the next level. So
Absolutely.
Is there anything last that you want to add?
Come see us. We are here to help. Financial planning is not a do-it-yourself project, and it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all, right? Everything is going to be different and skewed to your specific goal. So, come see us. We're more than happy to help, and I look forward to working with anybody who reaches out.
Sounds good, and I appreciate your time. And again, I want to thank Johnson Capital Planning for sponsoring the Shop Blackathon 2025. And we'll talk to you later, sir. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you.
All right.